The cure to the things that ail your accounting firm. Getting people to pay you more for the stuff you already do. When you're twice as profitable, those workflows actually look a lot better. Turns out those system issues are actually capacity issues. The hiring problems, because you're doing a whole bunch of work, doesn't pay you very well. So how do we find better clients going into the new year? Make this stuff all feel more sustainable. Here we go, 9 tips, let's do it. Number 1, you gotta keep taking in new clients. Now, a lot of firms these days, we're so busy, we're so overwhelmed, we're at capacity, we're not taking any new clients. Most firms today do not need more clients, but every firm needs better clients. And the day you stop taking better clients is the day you stop growing profits, getting more sustainable. Think of yourself as the curator of the client list. Your job is to let the good ones on and to kick the bad ones off. And that process should never stop. As soon as it becomes stagnant, you're missing out on an opportunity to build it into something better. Number 2, consider why your clients love you. If you think about that whole client list, there are people on that client list that value you wildly different ways. The ones at the bottom, they gripe every time you send them a bill. They're like, I don't want to pay this. And that's usually not because they are bad people, though it may feel that way in the moment. It's just because the problems that you are solving for them are not painful enough to them. And on the other end of that spectrum, the people who love you, who send you the big old gift baskets on the holiday, they're the ones who most acutely feel the pains that you solve for them. So consider, why do those people feel those pains? Honestly, those people would probably happily pay much more than they do now. But your client list, it's not just them, it's a whole big hot mess of a bunch of different type of people, right? So consider, what about the pains I'm solving up here are really valuable, and how do we double down on more people that feel those pains? Once you do, number 3, go find more of them. Where do these people hang out who feel these types of pains? Are there certain conferences? At the very least, just go out and hang, meet some people. Even better, see if you can speak, see if there's some sort of value you can offer to these in-person meetups. What do these people consume? Podcasts, YouTubes, influencers in the space. These people exist inside of every little tiny corner of entrepreneurship. Find out where these people consume and see if you can add value to the folks who control those channels. Go on a podcast, do an interview. See if you can provide value to the influencer themselves. It's gonna get you in front of more people that feel that pain. But even better than finding them is number 4, begin to attract them. And this is the biggest untapped opportunity for accounting firms, the biggest way that we're not yet leaning into the internet. Most of us are still finding clients the same ways we would have pre-internet. When on the other side of your screen, on the other side of social media, are millions of people, nuance that we can't even comprehend. And our brains are not able to we can't get our heads around the bigness of what is on the other side of that. And so for most of us, we're not engaging at all. But growing a business today, the more scalable, the more exciting version to me than going out and finding all those clients is attracting them. You're putting out content. You're having the conversations about those pains consistently every single day. And the more you have them, the more it attracts people who have those problems. And you find over time, those people actually start to build a relationship with you. As you are consistently providing value, they're turning up every single day learning from you. And when it comes time to sell them something or pull them in as an ongoing client, imagine the difference between the relationship that person has with you versus how your clients come in today. And that may feel like a really big, hard thing to build that's gonna take a really long time. It doesn't take as long as you'd think. But the holy grail here, what we're trying to get to is a new type of client who will pay you more for the work that you already do. And that takes laying some groundwork. And in my opinion, the highest leverage way to do that these days is online, social media. That is where everybody consumes. That is where they spend their free time these days, is scrolling algorithms. You can either combat what your clients are learning there, or you can show up there yourself and be the one to benefit from it. We've been having a bunch of these conversations on the Daily Pod. There's a lot of blockers and reasons why this is uncomfortable for us. I've been sharing a lot of tips around how to make this stuff as simple as possible, take the pain out of content creation. Number 5, solve a pain on your website. Don't think of your website as a business card. Don't think of it as a collection of the services that you do. Honestly, the role of a website has changed as people now just consume things on social media. Discovery happens not on your website, but on social media. If they're turning up at your website, they're pretty warm already. But a big thing that we often get wrong, we talked about this in the These Websites Are Bad video like a month ago. The big thing folks get wrong is the only call to action on that website is become a client. When the reality is, you don't even know if you want them to be a client. And they may not know enough about you to be in a place where they're willing to pay top dollar for what you do. So my recommendation is, rather than the only call to action being dump your current accountant and come to us, instead give them like a trial project. Give them a low stakes way to get a little bit of experience working with you. So that is tip number 6. Do a trial project with these folks. And this is a standalone offer to solve a problem that these people have. They're gonna pay you for it, it's going to give them value, and it is not a forever commitment. And with this trial project, we want to achieve 3 things. 1, we wanna hook them. These are people who otherwise would have come to your website and bounced because maybe they weren't quite ready to become a client. But if there's like this $500 one-off project, they're like, may as well, this is useful to me, and I'm gonna learn more about these people along the way. Second reason you're doing this is to know if you even wanna work with them or if they're weirdos, because a lot of them will be, right? That's life. Third reason is to dazzle the ever-living out of them. When they get to the end of that trial project and they're like, oh dang, that was actually a lot better than anything I've ever done with my current professional help. They were using like videos and actually responding to my emails, and they put together this cool thing. When they get to the end of that trial project, you want them to be in a state of not being able to imagine working with anybody else. They are now pre-dazzled. And so when you start the conversation, if you want, of doing ongoing work for them, man, they are in a wildly different state than they would have been otherwise. Again, the goal is to get them to a place where they're paying half again, twice as much, coming in the door from day one, so they're not coming in low and then you're having to like increase them a bunch over time. You want them coming in at top dollar day one. Trial projects are a great way to do that. And I will show you an example of how you can build out a like super automated trial project with this video sponsor. Roll it. LiveFlow, check this out. If you somehow don't know what LiveFlow is, it is a simple way to connect your QuickBooks Online to Google Sheets. This is how it works in like 10 seconds. I'm in Google Sheets, I go extensions, LiveFlow, get started, select the company I want, and start pulling in reports from QuickBooks. Accrual or cash, fixed or trailing date ranges, all the stuff that you would see in QuickBooks, but this will keep updating. Now, it can pull in QuickBooks reports, you can start with templates, or you can use your own sheet that you already have and connect it to like ledger accounts in your QuickBooks file. So if we're building a trial project here, what would be a great thing to have? Access to their accounting file, right? And maybe for this diagnostic, you've got this like report that you've put together in a spreadsheet or something like that. Or maybe the trial project is building a budget for them. That may be the first time many of these folks have ever had a budget. Use LiveFlow to connect their QuickBooks to this spreadsheet, and you can automate a whole bunch of the process of building this out. Now, they recently launched budgeting support, so it will pull in budgets from QuickBooks Online, and actually just announced consolidations as well. You may have seen just this last Wednesday, we did a demo day video on the main channel. It's like the easiest, most straightforward implementation of consolidations I think I've ever seen. So if you're looking for a super streamlined way to manage these trial projects, buddy, LiveFlow might be for you. So think about how you can solve a real pain for these people, a pain that the ideal client profile feels. You can do this for them, and this is a kind of almost like a paid discovery project to find out if you really want to work with them, and then when they do sign on, to get them to sign on at a better rate. Number 7, define a success metric for the firm as a whole. At some point, you gotta like sit down and think about, what am I actually doing here? And if you don't, what you do is you just kind of get on the hamster wheel until the end of time and grow for growth's sake. One of the best things I ever did was actually sit down and decide, okay, I want the firm to make this amount of money. And it helped focus all of the decision making that we were doing around a unified goal so that you could then, tip number 8, optimize within that metric. And I'll give you an example. Let's say we have pre-dazzled a client and they're now gonna come in at 2x the rate of some of our legacy client projects. Now that is 2x the revenue, but on the profit side, depending on your margins, that's probably 3 to 4x the profit, which means for that one new project I took in, I can cut 3 to 4 legacy projects while still maintaining the bottom line. And we may know this, but when you bring that better project in, you are not clicking your heels to go out and run out and go fire these clients, right? For whatever reason, it doesn't happen. But the most helpful thing I ever did to kind of get over this was to define that success metric for the firm to keep me focused on the things that would like keep us there like without, blowing past it or getting there in an unnecessarily complex way. Like I set that sort of box of here's the profit the firm needs to generate. And the really helpful thing for me was then it became a game of how efficiently can I meet this goal. It became a game of optimizing what we do within that constraint, rather than just going through day to day and probably doing what comes easiest, which is saying yes and avoiding uncomfortable no's, right? That was a big one for me. And then number 9, oh buddy, learn to avoid the red flags. The problem clients is stuff you should have noticed in onboarding that becomes a big old headache. Check it out up here. These are the biggest red flags that I got wrong.